Yeah, good evening, good evening, good evening. How y'all doing this evening? It's going to be an exciting hour today. Yes, sir. It's going to be on today. We got my man. We got the magnificent, the wonderful, the awesome, my family. Pastor C.T. KirK in the building this evening. What's up, Pastor?
Doing great. How you doing, big cuz?
What's going on with you, man?
Doing great. Hey, glad to be here.
I know that's right. We glad to have you, man. We glad to have you, man. Man, it's so exciting, man, to have you on the show, man, because you're doing so much in the community. You're doing so much for the kingdom. You're doing so much in the church arena, man. You're doing so much just in all aspects of the community, man. And what I see a full variety of things that you're doing, man, and you're having a powerful impact. You know, before we get this interview started, man, we go way back. This is my family for one thing, and that's another pleasure. You know, I'm so full of pleasure this hour for you being able to bring him on the show and just to interview him so we can get him out there and just so people can see all the things that he's doing. And so this is an hour of celebration, man. So, you know, tell your friends, call your friends up, tell them to get on that Fire FM, go on Facebook, like the page, come on all the way live. I'm your host, Emanuel Prophet Soul, a.k.a. Walt T. We got Rock Hill's, one of the greatest pastors to come out of Rock Hill, Pastor C.T. KirK, solo outreach ministry, and we're excited to have him this evening. And as we get started, Pastor, tell me something. What inspired you to even think about going into ministry? How did you get started?
I went into ministry initially because I wanted to make a change in the life of so many people. I wanted to do something different, and I felt a strong tug from being in ministries where there was a strong outreach pull. And I knew then that I wanted to not only be a pastor in the church, but I wanted to be a pastor to the community as well. Someone that accepted people where they were and helped them get to where God wanted them to be. And so I think that every pastor got to have a love of people more so than anything to really push them into that area of ministry.
Wow, just watching you over the years, man, just being in ministry, man, and looking at your style and looking at how you carry yourself. You know, as a pastor, you know, there's a lot of weight on y'all, you know, to lead a people, to teach a people, and some people you have to literally raise, you know, and I've watched this in my years of being in ministry. And, you know, just to carry that weight and to carry other people's burdens on your back, man. Tell me, man, how do you do it, man? What causes you to have that strength, man, to be able to just carry other people's burdens and their problems and then be able to preach and even keep yourself and then have your own inner circle problems that may be going on with you sometime to be able to hold yourself together, man, to be able to lead them clearly?
Well, the first thing I think everybody has to realize is that you're not Superman.
Amen.
It's not require you to rescue anyone that does not want to be rescued. And so when you understand the fact that you can't save everybody, or you can't really save anyone, then it makes you more stay on your face before the Lord and get insight and get revelation on how to carry each one of them need. Because so many of them are important. That's why it's so important for ministers and pastors to know their sheep, because each sheep functions differently. And if you're trying to categorize everybody's problems the same, you're going to miss that one that's really called out and needs you. So I think being personable is very important, because sometimes all a person needs is a little encouragement, whereas other people may need a little bit more encouragement. And so the more you know your sheep, the more you know what they're going through. But at the same time, the more that you understand that you're not Superman, that you need a Savior as well, it puts you in a mode where you stay in prayer and you stay before the Lord's face and say, just give me, God, what I need to be able to help them.
Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful. And I love, you know, I can tell that you spend a lot of time with the Lord because you're clear when you speak and even in reading your book. And this is another thing, man, in reading your book, man, learn to take your mind back, strategize, unify, and pray your way up. I was reading the simplicity of the book. The book is a simple read, and anybody can read it and get a clear understanding of what's going on in their life, what's causing them not to grow, what's causing them not to move forward. And as I was reading the book, man, I was even inspired myself. It helped me out a whole lot in a lot of areas, a lot of things in the past that I thought I had let go, that I hadn't let go, man, and it helped me tremendously to get past some real stumbling blocks in my life. So I want to congratulate and thank you for that. And it also has helped a lot of other people. And as we go on with the interview, man, I want you to explain a lot about this book. But I have a question that I want to ask, because it's been asked of me by a lot of people. But I want your take, because you're so grounded, you're so solid in your spirituality. Explain to us and the audience, what is the true difference between spirituality and the religious system of church?
Well, the religious system has been designed to almost enclose God up to a set of laws, a set of do's, and a set of don'ts. that really roots out love. It's basically saying that if you do X, Y, and Z, then you're going to get here, rather than if you allow God to get you where you need to be, then you're going to get here. Jesus never came that we have a religion. He never set up Christianity. That came after his death. Jesus came to show forth love. The law, even though it was not perfect, it was given by God to direct the Israelites in how to serve. Jesus came so that we can live free, not free from the law, but free from the bondage of sin that the law had created unto us. Because the people had begun to put the law so high that nobody could even live under the law without being condemned. And so Jesus came that we may have life and have it more abundantly. And so I explain to people all the time, spirituality is getting to know who you are in God. Because who you are in God may be so much different from the other person. And I think that this is why a lot of people shy themselves away from spirituality, because they look at the religion and say, okay, I can't satisfy the religion.
Yes.
I can't be the Jew. I can't be the Gentile. I can't be the this. And so I don't know who I am. And so when you understand spirituality, you understand that, listen, you are right where God needs you to be so that he can fine-tune you
Yes.
and mold you. I tell a lot of people this. Some of the strongest people, some of the most educated people in the world are those that are locked behind bars. The drug dealer is the best accountant because he learned how to flip his product and make money. But nobody ever pours into him, hey, man, you got a gift that all you need to do is turn it in the right direction and you can be successful.
Yes.
More or less than we throw them down and we make them feel like they're not meaningful, that Jesus cannot do anything in their life, and they feel thrown away to the system. But when you're in spirituality, then you understand the significance of being a pastor, of being a leader, that, hey, you are supposed to be able to find out what that person is in the inside and pull that out of them. It's just like medicine. All of our medicine tells us to shake well before we take it. Yeah, you can be hard-headed and just take it, but you don't get the full effects until you shake up the medicine.
Yes.
And all the good stuff comes to the top.
Yes.
And there are a lot of people that have good stuff on the bottom of it, but nobody ever shakes it up, and so that stuff settles down. And I tell people every time, when you see spirituality, what Jesus did and what God did through all out the world, people like Moses, people like Noah, he just shook them up so that everything that was in them could come to the top.
Wow, that's awesome, man. That is awesome. So, man, for those of the people that's watching that don't know you, let them know who you are, your ministry, when you started in ministry, and things of that nature.
Hey, man, I was born and raised in Rock Hill, South Carolina. I've been pastoring now for almost 9 years. I started ministering, licensed ministry at 23 years old. Had bumps and bruises along the way. I think that every bump and bruise teaches you a part of yourself, and it teaches you a part of life. And if you don't have those mistakes along the way, then you'll never learn who you are as a person. So my life has been a continuous learning process that even at 37 years old now, I'm still learning some things about myself. And I think that that is very important. I teach school in Lancaster, South Carolina. I also run the Havens Men's Shelter. I've been running that now for 4 years, and we're going more to a transitional base because we see the outlook of really being able to turn men around. I also am a pastor of Sanctuary of Life Outreach Center, and we started that with the premise of being able to do outreach. It was, in fact, spending the night up under a bridge with a homeless man that really birthed out the ministry in us, because we've seen so much hurt. We've seen so many people that had got overlooked by the bigger church or the normal church, and we wanted to be that church that said, you know what, regardless of who you are, we believe that Jesus can make you better. And so that was a part of our life. I'm married also to an educator, Monique KirK, and we have 3 children, ages 16, 9, and 4 years old. And so those are the apples of my eye, and those are really what keeps me grounded.
Wow, that's awesome, man. It's an awesome man of God, man, and it's my family, man. I've been watching him grow, and he's also influenced my life, and man, it's so wonderful when you see people that you watch grow up as little kids, and they grow up to be grown men and women, and God begin to move in their lives, and it's such an inspiring thing to see. CT, man, I tell you, man, but you be acting and doing comedy, you be doing all kind of stuff, man. So when's the next comedy show? When's the next event that you're gonna be involved in that's coming up?
I might be retired for comedy. I'm waiting on them acting calls, but I'm actually a part of a play now that will be set around February. Okay. And the name of the play is If I Could Choose My Family by Sheila Buchanan. So comedy thing I kind of came down from a little bit. Doing you got to keep it clean, so it's hard to keep it clean and be funny all the time with the audiences out there now. But yeah, just really and starting to write my second book now, and really awesome. Just keep that momentum going as far as book writing. That's
what's up, man. And we're just glad to have you here today, man. You took time out of your busy schedule, man, to come and sit with us, man, and let the world know about you. We have a long reach here. We all the way over in Germany, so people get to see you everywhere. And we want to make sure that everything that you're doing, everything that you're a part of gets out in the public. Everybody know what you're doing. That way if people need certain help or anything, they'll know, how they can reach you, where they can come to. But I most definitely want to introduce to y'all his famous book that hadn't been long wrote, called Learn to Take Your Mind Back. Strategize and unify and pray your way up. Y'all get this book. It's a simple read. It's powerful. And when you first go in the book, read everything from the publisher's word to the foreword to everything that's going into the book. Read all of it, because you want to know the whole person, and you want to know the whole deal behind how to correct your life if you feel like you're not living right. If life is in dysfunction, then this is a simple read that can help you bring you out of that dysfunction by first cleaning out your mind. And that first chapter, cleaning out your attic, is awesome. So I beg you, get this book. It'll help you so. It'll help a family member. Buy it for a friend. Buy it for an aunt. Buy it for anybody you feel like that may be hurting right now and going through some stuff, because in this world we're living in, a lot of people are going through a lot of stuff. So, brother, tell me, man, what inspired you to write the book, man?
I wrote the book during a hard time in my life. I had just got laid off, and I have been pressed to write a book because the sermons, the author, Kimberly Johnson, said my sermons should be a book. And after attending our church several times, she was just so inspired to keep me pushing and writing the book. And I never thought about writing the book until I was really laid off. I was substituting. And I started saying, you know what, even in this time of going through, God, what do you want me to do? And I think that the most pivotal time in our life and the most important time in our life is how we handle our hurt. You can handle your hurt in such a way that it can heal you and it can set you up for the rest of your life, or you can allow your hurt to consume you. And a lot of people do not know how to deal with their hurt. And I started thinking, there's people that go to church Sunday after Sunday that has real questions, that are having real struggles in life. Do I pay my tithes or do I pay my light bill? What do I do when I've been raped in my past, but nobody ever preaches on how to heal from that? The majority of words that I hear makes me want to shout, but it does not help me when I go home to a house and I'm lonely and I'm going through, and I say, you know what? This is not just the Christian, but this is the millionaire. This is the teacher. This is the person incarcerated. This is the person that's working the normal job. All of us have stress and strife and tribulations that we go through, but a lot of times we don't know how to relate to these things. We don't understand that scripture, Romans 8:28, that says all things work together for our good. That everything that we went through, from being molested as a child to being raped as a child, all of this can play an important role in our life if we allow it to use it. And so I said, you know what? I want to write a self-help book that shows a person that regardless of what you're going through, this can be the greatest sermon, this can be the greatest message of your life if you allow it.
Wow. And that's awesome, man. And for that, man, I understand, how this book came into play. And this book, man, I noticed it's selling real good. And I just love the fact so much that, we got our very own Rock Hill in the house.
Rock Hill in the house.
Yeah, Pastor C.T. KirK. Y'all give it up for him.
Hampton Street. Hampton and Green.
Yes, sir. He in Flint Hill, Green Street, Crawford Road, College Down. He in town. He out of town. And he's doing a great thing, man. He has the Haven down there that he's directing, man. And he's helping so many people, man. And so we just want to see, all of us to just look at him as inspiration to us all, because we need more leaders like that. We need more leaders that's more in touch with the community, and that's how your community heals. And he's a great example of what it takes. He's had the bumps and the bruises. He's been through trials in his marriage and in the ministry with things, man. And he's an overcomer, and he sits here today as a testament of what God can take out of a painful, hurtful situation and what he can raise up to be. If you don't mind, Pastor, I would like to ask you, what are some of the things that you went through and some of your pains coming up in ministry, coming up as a child? What are some of the things that you had to overcome, man, that were really hurtful and painful, man, when you was really in those dark places? If you don't mind sharing.
No problem. No, at 6 years old, I was molested by a group of boys right there in the community of Hampton Street. I thought at 6 years old they was playing, but didn't realize the effects that had on my life, that pretty much set me up for a lifelong struggle with womanizing, lustful desires, and different things like that, just to prove my manhood, to prove that I wasn't what those boys tried to label me as or tried to do to me. And so those things haunted me a lot in ministry and in marriage, that I would have those thoughts of those relationships that I had to have with women. And it really messed up my mindset, messed up my way of thinking for a long time. And once again, when people don't understand what we go through in life, they kind of label us. I know what it's like to be the minister that's been overlooked. I know what it's like not to fit in the sectors of crew because your church don't look like this, or because you don't have money in the bank like this, or because you don't speak like they speak. And so a lot of those things I had to overcome. And finally, I just got to a place where I just started loving me. And I started seeing the betterment of life. And I think a lot of times when we try to put ourselves in boxes, a lot of times when we try to act like everybody else or resemble everybody else, we lose out on what makes us original, what makes us unique, what makes us special before God. And so when I learned through trials and tribulations, through going through a couple suicide attempts because I didn't love myself, because I didn't feel like I was good enough, just sadness and a lot of things in my life that I had to go through, low self-esteem, moments of depression, all of these things I had to go through, but it was only because of God's grace that I'm still sitting here today.
Wow, that's awesome, man. That is so awesome, man, because a lot of people get hurt and they stay in pain for a long time. And I'm a testament myself. I stayed in pain for a lot of years, even after being in the church, and never learned how to come out of it, you know what I'm saying, until later on. And when I finally found that freedom and that liberation for myself, you know, because I was busy trying to do church like everybody else was doing church. And I was trying to be with the in crowd because I wanted people to feel like I was holy, because I thought that was the right thing, because that's what the church was teaching me. You know, I thought I had some great teachers and I had some great leaders. I think at the time they only taught what they knew. You know what I'm saying? But as I began to grow, a lot of people thought I backslid, but I didn't backslide. I got in touch with the real me. You know what I'm saying? And then I had to live out of that place. And to a lot of people, the first day somebody sent me something saying that you need to repent, but they didn't understand that I had placed myself in a place of isolation because the spirit had led me to be isolated, so God could teach me for my next dimension of living. And in that process, you know, I went out to some bars and I did some things, you know what I'm saying? But what they was talking about I wasn't in no backsliding stage, but they thought I was because they was looking at the places that they saw me. So what would you say about a person that's going through that situation and in that place in their life? What would you say to a person in that situation if they're going through that criticism and they're trying to deal with that, and a lot of people are saying things about you and it's hurtful because we're human beings, you know what I'm saying? What would you say to a person that's going through that and that would help them out in that situation?
I think the first thing that we have to understand is how hard it is to really go through by yourself. And a lot of people don't understand that when somebody is going through. I remember at funerals, people used to walk up and say, how you doing? And they see a person sitting there hurt because that person had just passed away. They say, it's going to be okay. Or the typical cliche line is, I'm going to be praying for you, or just pray about it. But when you really get beneath the surface, a lot of people have never healed from their initial hurt. Mm-hmm. And so they're trying to adjust themselves to go through life still carrying hurt. It's almost like a man with a broken leg still trying to race. Even though he's still making progress, it's not effective as it was if he had two healed legs. Yeah. And the first thing I tell a person is simply this: when you really get in touch with really your hurt and your brokenness, then you can heal. If a lot of times you see people when they're upset and they're mad, they start blaming people for life. Yes. They blame. Okay, this is what happened. This is what happened. It was the marriage. Mm-hmm. It was my daddy wouldn't be there. It was my mother not being there. And these can be legitimate reasons for your hurt. But really, when you look beneath the surface, look at how many people went through those same things and became successful. Yes. Look at how many successful rappers didn't have a father, but didn't have that excuse to hold them back. Look at how many successful movie stars didn't have a mother, but that didn't hold them back. Yes. So the first thing I tell people is always get in touch with what's really bothering you, yes, and be able to express that. It was only when I sat down with a counselor and began to pour out my story that I ever began to heal. Because I thought that all it took was a sermon, all it took was a shout, yes, all it took was a revival, all it took was a conference. But all she did was listen to me and say, tell me about you. And when she challenged me to really be able to tell her who I was, then it really opened my eyes, because I found out, listen, I really haven't healed. And when I was going through that, yes, that I thought that marriage was going to heal it and having kids was going to heal it. But when she sat down and said, I'm just listening to you, was I able to pour out? And a lot of people don't have those moments where they can just pour out. And it's because of that we look for so many things to fill in the void. And rather than just saying, you know what, I need to sit down and really find out who I am. And so I was criticized because here I am, a pastor, going to a counselor. When I am supposed to be the counselor, I'm going to the counselor. But then I realized, listen, for that healing that I got in that moment, they can criticize all they want. Because the reality of the matter is this: criticism is just what it is. Criticism is just from people that really don't understand your destination, where you're going, and what God has for your life. And they never take time to ask you, what does God have for you? They want to criticize first. But if they ever say, tell me why, yes, and let you be able to explain the story, then they'll say, wait a minute, hold on, now I see. Now I know what to pray for. Now I know what to deal with. And a lot of people are broken because a lot of times we just jump on them. We jump on that lady that's been in 5 or 6 relationships, and we call her names. We call her thoughts. We call her names. But we don't realize that this girl is broken, and she's looking for love.
Yes.
And nobody has ever told her I love you. The church people look at the dress and say, oh, you just fast. They ain't looking at the fact that she couldn't afford the dress. But if you give her a dress and show her love, you'll do more deliverance than your criticism. So I always tell a person, if you can't help me, keep your mouth off.
Amen. Amen. And that's powerful, man. I'm enjoying this, man, because it's, a lot of people getting to hear. There's a lot of people going through that. A lot of people I talk to are going through that. A lot of people are shying away from church because they're kind of ashamed. You know what I'm saying? And they don't know what church to go to or who to talk to. So, because I went to counseling myself. And then also, I do private counseling to people, you know what I'm saying? And so, a lot of times those private counseling sessions, a lot of people don't want to be around a lot of people because they're trying to find themselves. So what I do, I just point them to themselves, you know what I'm saying? And then I show them God. And then I let them look in the mirror at God. And then God shows them in Him. And so then the process starts. And then, I don't hold their hand. I let them know this is something you got to live out. You got to practice this. And so, just like me and my wife have the greatest relationship in the world. Been together 8 years. We have the greatest relationship. And we have 2 beautiful children. This is the happiest I've ever been in my life. But I remember when I had a lot of things. I remember when I had a whole lot of stuff, man. I was empty on the inside. And I tend to think like what I see too sometimes in the church, and you can attest to this, and I want you to speak on this. A lot of people, when they start getting things, then they consider themselves blessed. But I also share that a lot of evil people got a lot of stuff too. You know what I'm saying? A lot of wicked people got a lot of stuff too. A lot of corrupt, manipulative people got a lot of stuff. Having stuff doesn't make you blessed until you tap on that something that's on the inside. And I want you to touch on that because you touched on it in your book. Until you tap on that spirit, that man on the inside, that God on the inside, that you can't be free. Would you elaborate on that for a while for me?
Oh, yes, sir. I think that a lot of people think that preachers walk a life where they don't feel.
Come on.
And if you really did a survey and you would look around, especially in 2017, you have more pastors committing suicide than ever before. Pastors are just like everyday people. We have dreams. We have goals. We have desires. And when you start seeing, one of the things I used to always say, cousin, was the worst thing I ever tapped into was the word network, TBN, because they showed me ministry, how it's supposed to look. Yeah. And I was looking at mine saying, oh, well, this ain't right, this ain't right. I got to get to this level. If I'm not on this level, then I'm not effective.
Effective, right.
Because it was like literally when the big boys said it, it was word.
Yes.
It was power. Get ready was on T-shirts. It was all over the place. And I'm like, if I'm not on this level, then I'm not doing anything. And so what happens a lot of times is you start taking shortcuts. You stop valuing God's process of grooming and growing you to say, I need this and I need that. I need that ministry where we have 4 or 5 services so that I can have a weight, I can have a voice, I can have influence. Because tell you the truth, especially in Rock Hill, people don't listen to you until you have stuff. And that weighs on a pastor when you got a heart, you got a vision, but the only way people are going to come around you is when they see stuff. They're not going to come when you over here in the small. They wait till you get big, then they jump on board and say, look what we did. Look what we've got. Like Malcolm X say, look what we did. Our success. And so that weighs heavy on ministers, especially that don't have those certain level of fame and fortune. Those that really have a heart of God are getting lost in the shuffle. And when they get lost in the shuffle, they lose themselves trying to be like the next person. They lose the beautiness of their ministry trying to be like other ministries. They had a hunger to go out into the community. And then they start getting to a level of status, and they're like, okay, I don't need that no more. Now it's time for me to go to the next level. And we always think level is stuff. Level is never stuff. Level is always a bigger area to serve. Level is always, okay, if Jabez said, God, increase my territory so that when you start giving me stuff, I have room for it. But his territory was increase my influence so that I can serve more. Yes. If we look at the Bible from Noah all the way to David, every time that God stretched them, they had to serve a greater need and a greater purpose. And I think a lot of times we want to be served, and we think, okay, if I get a bigger congregation, I'm going to get the house. I ain't got to work. I ain't got to do this. But no, there's a greater area that you should serve in. The most pleasure that I find in ministry is being able to walk down the street and people know my name.
Yes.
And people being able, today, I was riding home, I seen a young fellow, had his pants pulled down, he was thugging out, and the police had stopped him. I said, I can't leave my brother over there by himself because I don't
Right.
know what's going to happen. I already know how they're looking at him.
That's beautiful.
And so what happened was he swerved out of the way of a dog and ended up hitting the pole, where the police was talking to him all kind of ways until I pulled up and standing beside him and said, what's going on with him? And then when that police left, I was able to tell that brother, listen, the way you dress and the way you carry yourself, they're going to look at you a certain
Yes.
way. So I need you to come on up so they don't look at us that way. But he was able to appreciate it because he knew me from Facebook, he knew me from the community. And that was more of a joy than saying, hey, I preach for this person, I preach for that person. Because here it is, this young thug know my name. And I think that if we're ever going to be kingdom people, then the world needs to know your name. The devil needs to be afraid when you come down that block. But a lot of times the devil ain't afraid because ain't nobody going down Green Street. Ain't nobody going down Sunset Park because we at revival. We at conference. But the real need for us to be in is in that community. And you'll get a greater feeling within yourself when you can go out to those places.
And that's so true, man. I witness it. I witness it every day. Just what you're saying, man. And that's always been my heart, man, to go back where I came from and just give back, man. Give my soul back. You know, give my energy back, my time. What little resources I had, just give what I had. You know, on my Facebook page, it says, be what God called you to be, not what others want to see. And people want to see you be a certain way. People want to see you be like a T.D. Jakes. People want to see you be like these big-time men. God don't call everybody at that level of ministry. God needs some people that's down in the trenches working. And I feel like, you know, when I was called into that area. And I caught so much flack for just being me. You know what I'm saying? And you know, and I had to stand for myself and let people know, you know, I'm not here to be what you call me to be. I'm not here to be religious. I'm here to be real. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, being led by the Spirit, I'm doing what God tell me to do, not what man tell me to do. And a lot of times, you do take a lot of criticism, and people do look at you crazy. And then people expect for you not to do nothing wrong. They expect for you to be this so right person. And I want you to elaborate on this. What's the real meaning of be ye perfect, Matthew 5:48, as your Father in heaven is perfect? Give us insight on the spiritual aspect of what God's wisdom is on that.
Amen. When it says be ye holy, for I am holy, God, Jesus really was saying to him, free yourself from the influences of the world. Understand that you're in it, but you're not made of it. In other words, that your operation is so much different than somebody who does not know God. That when you're going through, the first thing you do is you look up. Some people look at the bottle. Some people look at the women. But you look up. In other words, you have just clarified your mind and say, okay, if I'm going through this, I'm either going through it because God has something great that he wants me to learn, or maybe I need to look at where I am doing as a person, even within myself. And so when he wants us to be holy, what he's really saying to us is learn the same way that I'm learning, that you can function in this body. You can function with all this calamity around you.
Yes.
And still have a relationship with God. To your point when you said about how people look at us, Jesus said that the greatest servant of all was John the Baptist. And when you really look at John the Baptist, he didn't build a ark like Noah. He didn't defeat a giant like David. But yet Jesus said he was the greatest of all time. When you start thinking about these things, you say, wait a minute, now what made John the Baptist so great? Think about the role that John the Baptist had. I got to sit here and preach for somebody that's greater than me. I'm opening up the doorway so you can hear him. My whole life mission is to get you ready for him. I got to be a servant that you can receive him. I'm the opening act to him and will never be able to be great. And Jesus says when you can get to that level that it's not about you, but you can open the door for somebody else, then your purpose makes sense to you. Yeah. My purpose may never to see Solo be 5,000 men. I may be just the one opening up the door for my grandson to be able to walk. But I've left a legacy because I've influenced people that will believe in him and believe in the seed that he carries. And so a lot of times we can't get it because we say, wait a minute, in my lifetime, I got to be the great one. But John the Baptist was great because of the purpose that he served. He was the greatest servant because he didn't mind saying, okay, you know what? It ain't about me. It's about the one coming behind me. That's the one that I'm living for. That's the one that the dream is for. And so I think that when we get to that point where we can say, you know what? Jesus, all of this is for you. That what you did for us is to set us up to be happy in the earth, to keep your will going in the earth, and then we'll start seeing more purpose in our life. My purpose, like you said, may not be to have that big church. I may not be the multimillionaire, but the people that I influence may be those. And I heard somebody say, would you rather want to be a millionaire pastor or be a pastor over millionaires? I said, you be a pastor over millionaires. That way you ain't got to worry about people always wanting stuff from you. And so I think that when we tap into our purpose, and again, everybody's not going to understand your purpose and they're going to understand your calling unless they really sit down and understand what you've gone through. If you really sat down and told your story and people say, wait a minute, wow, you overcame that, they'll leave you alone.
Yes.
If people start looking at church people and say, okay, you know what, beyond our beautiful dresses and suits, there's a story. In church, people really weren't afraid of their testimony. More people would get saved because they would know, listen, hey, homegirl right there was in the same streets I'm in, but she was introduced to holiness. She was introduced to Jesus. And from that introduction, her eyes were opened up. And that's all really Jesus came to do, is to show us how to open up our eyes.
Yes, that's true. And tell me too, Pastor, what makes the Haven, you know, that you're the director over, what makes it so effective, man? I'm seeing this transition of the guys coming off the street, coming in. What's making it so effective, man?
What makes the Haven so effective is it allows guys to be able to correct their mistakes. And then also, one thing that I teach about when I go out and do talking for the Haven is most people think of homelessness as the people they see on TV. The thing about Rock Hill is Rock Hill is a small boat. Mm-hmm. And people that have never been outside of Rock Hill, they get blown away when they see something that they've never seen before. In other words, people think homeless people are always the panhandlers. They're going to rob you. They're the people with the scruffy beards and the dirty clothes, and they smell like whiskey and all of them on drugs. And they think that because they've never experienced anything different. What makes the Haven so special is the success stories that come from the Haven. When they see that we have multimillionaire came through the Haven. We've seen doctors and lawyers that went through a divorce and lost everything. They have to come to a Haven. So it's people on different walks of life, but the one thing about it is it's a no judging zone. We don't judge you. Our job is to help you. Our mission is to help you. And one of the things that we stand on is if you really want the help, we're here to help you. So I look at the Haven as ministry, and it's what ministry should be. If you really want to change your life around, the Haven is just like that place. It's that place say, okay, for these days you can able to evaluate yourself and you can start over. But the one thing about it, you're not going to be judged.
Wow, that's awesome too, man, because I've seen some transitions, and man, you know, just bringing people there myself. I've just seen some awesome turnarounds, man. And so if you know anybody that's having the problems, y'all make sure y'all contact Pastor or contact the Haven, man. And if they have any rooms or any beds available, they're willing to help. And most definitely, I want to get back to your book, man. I want you to elaborate a little bit on your book, man, because this book is so heavy, man. And what I call it, it's simply heavy. And it's simply powerful and simply spiritually powerful. Just elaborate on this book, what it can do for people.
All right, so some things that you're going to notice about the book is that, number one, I did not put Pastor C.T. KirK on the cover for a reason. When I was sitting down, me and my publisher, I didn't want the book to be churchy, that it ran away people that really needed the help as well. So the book is not a churchy book. The intent is not to make you shout, it's to make you learn and to make you think. I teach in the school system, I teach a method of teaching called Socratic teaching. In other words, all I do is ask questions why. When we go through the civil rights movement, I ask questions why. My job is to get you to see both how the police during that time felt as well as what Martin Luther King felt at the same time. I want to give you both aspects so that you can choose what you feel like is right or wrong. Because too long we've been telling people how to think and not, we've been telling what to think and not how to think.
Wow.
And so Martin Mead says you teach a child how to think and then you open up their mind. Frederick Douglass says that when you open up the mind of education, you give a child their freedom papers right then on there. And so this book is to get you to understand how to think for yourself. In fact, it's a self-help book, so I do put assignments in it. It's things for you to do, so you're not just going to read this book and sit down with it. If you read it right and you do everything that it tells you to do, you're going to think about within a day the certain questions that it asks you. And then after every so often, it's going to ask you to jot down your feelings. So you can write in this book. It's a note-taking book as well because it's supposed to move you within almost a 90-day basis of how to really take back your mind. So when we were sitting down, the first 30 pages are starting where you are now, the things that you need to do in order to reach the next level. The first page talks about cleaning out your mind. It talks about cleaning out your attic. It talks about the first thing that you can do. You can't put new stuff in old wineskin or bus. You can't try to say, I'm going to be successful, but I got all this hurt, and I got all this thing I'm dealing with, I got all this stuff in my life, because it's going to cancel each other out. That's why we see a lot of multimillionaires go back to being broke, because all they did was put money on top of pain. And so they said, I got to have a big house, I got to have a big car, I got to have the money, I got to have the parties in order to be effective. The clean out the attic part came when I was doing, because I did a lot of research on different people. I was researching Rick Flair. Woo! I was researching Rick Flair. And it was saying how much he drank, how much women, because he was hurting. Because he didn't get that. He didn't get that fulfillment from his dad. He said his dad only came to a couple of his matches, couldn't stand what he was doing. So he was lonely. He was going through. He was looking for love in all the wrong places. And I started saying, you know what? If you give a millionaire to a fool, he's going to be broke.
Yes.
But if you give a fool time to get his mind right, if you give him $1 million, he understands what to do with it. And so I said, the first thing you got to do is you got to clean out all that junk that's held you back. The first thing, it is no sense of even trying to read straight through this book because it ain't a read. You can't get past page 1 until you clear out your mind. And when you're ready to clear out your mind, then you can go to the next step and go to the next forward in mind. I never intended for this book to be read in a one-day sitting because you would never be able to get it. But it's a book to make you think about everything that happened in your life and how God will use that to get to the betterment. And so the next 30 days, which will get you up to about 60 days, is really the things that's going to take you to the next level. And by the end, you'll be able to celebrate. And so it's really a self-help book to be able to get you to totally be able to free your mind so that you can really understand God's purpose for your life.
Hey, on this, what really intrigued me, man. You're an avid movie watcher, and you be deep in the movies, man. You be deep. You say Monique came watch a movie without you breaking into the movie, trying to break it down.
I'm researching before it go on. That ain't what happened.
So I want you to break down the Friday the 13th, man, part 1 and part 2, because when I read it, man, me and my wife, me and Naomi, we were just laughing, man. We were cutting up. I could see you trying to explain the movie, so I started imitating you.
I had a pastor. She was very important to my overall development because she challenged me to think. We would be watching a movie, and she would literally say, now what did y'all get from that? Oh, God, I got a revelation from that movie. It could be something simple, but she would gain a revelation from it. And so now as I watch movies, I start seeing revelation. I start seeing themes in the movie. So I remember when I was sitting down writing, and I had been preaching the series, the Friday the 13th, and I was talking about a lot of times, and it came from one of them that was my favorite when Jason was literally dead, and the men went and dug him up. So they wanted to further kill what was already killed. And by them disturbing his grave, the lightning bolt hit the rod and woke him back up. And a lot of times, things that should be dead in our life, we go back and we wake them up. There are some emotions, and we got to understand that because they woke Jason up, 15 more people after that suffered. And whenever we don't deal with our hurt people hurt people. If you don't deal with the pains of the first relationship, the second relationship will suffer. Because it will always come up, those hurt and those pains from those relationships. And this is why we find so many people that will hurt a good man, will hurt a good woman. It ain't nothing that he did. You still hung up on Travis, or you still hung up on Sheila, that you can't even give the new person in your life the opportunity. You searching his phone and you going through his email because that's what you're so used to. You're looking for Jason. You're waking Jason up. You're waking up old emotions. And so from the Friday the 13th, I was simply saying this. Some things in your life should be dead and never have to revisit again. If God has delivered you from some things, I don't even try to touch certain things because I've been delivered from it. I don't try to go and say, you know what, I'm going to search the computer at 12 o'clock because I knew what I had to wrestle to. I knew what it took for me to get delivered from pornography. I knew what it took for me to get delivered from flirtation spirit and to be wild spirit. And so I don't even try to wake those things up. And then another one I was talking about Friday 13th is how when you literally, Jason never ran anybody down. Dude was walking. He wasn't even walking fast. He wasn't even in a hurry. But every time they looked back, they got distracted. And they would trip over something. Or they would lose their way. And so I was talking about how a lot of times when your past is the past, the more you look back at it, the more it hinders you from moving forward.
Yes.
And you allow something that's not even running to catch up with you. And so and a lot of people love the Friday 13th because it can I want to really use real life examples. I used a lot of my own stories to be able to talk about how easy and simple it is in your mind. That when you really look at Jason, you can start saying, wait a minute. Okay, if I ain't heard Walt T say nothing in 15, 20 minutes, and I know he loves to talk, let me go on and get out of town. I ain't looking for you, though. I love you, cuz, but I ain't going to look for you because something that I ain't seen. I done came in with 30 people, don't see nobody. Something ain't right. and a lot of times that's what we do in our lives. We go and we muster up hurts and we muster up pains.
Yes.
And then we get caught in a bad situation.
Wow, that's awesome, man. I like the way you elaborate on that, man. You're giving so much insight tonight. It's beautiful. A lot of people are being informed. Also, another thing I wanted to touch on, man, is a lot of our young generation, especially the generation of the hip hoppers, you know what I'm saying? And I'm a hip hop generation guru myself. I come out of that. Matter of fact, I was one, me and Mike Sam was one to bring hip hop to Rock Hill and start that movement in Rock Hill. And nowadays, you know, a lot of times when I talk to a lot of them don't want to even be affiliated with church or anything dealing with God from the concept of Jesus Christ. And I think it's because the stigma that's been tagged to the church from what some have did. What would you say to some of those guys if you had a group of guys and you was talking to them? Because I talked to a lot of them, and maybe we can get together and go talk to some ourselves. What would you say to those guys in your relationship to Christ and what he can do for them and how he can give them a better view of who Christ is without feeling like they have to be this church-wise without losing their swag? losing their coolness.
Man, I was one of the first pastors to bring hip hop into our church, gospel rappers, and I remember the backlash that some people were saying. He allow anything to go in church. I say, but they're saying the same message. They're just saying with a different move. I say, but the effects that they're leaving on our young people is so important. The one thing that people don't look at when they looked at Jesus was Jesus' strategies. Jesus went out there and got 12 men from different backgrounds. In fact, Matthew was probably one of the most hated ones of all. But he got different people from different backgrounds because he understood that there are different gifts. They can go to a different section of people. They can go to a different group and be able to influence and inspire them to be great. Is everything that people do we're going to agree with? No. Styles change all the time. I always tell that the old lady that's criticizing the guy with his pants pulled down. Do you know how ugly bell-bottom pants was? Do you know how you look with your afro and your leather jacket and you're picking your head? But that was your style. That was your way of relating to your era. Their way of relating to their era is because of what they may see on TV or what they may influence. But guess what? Jesus is still going to be the same.
Yes.
His message and his word is still going to be the same. And if you really want to see more millennials and young people come to the church, let those be the one that carry that word out. How is it going to look me trying to tell a 16-year-old boy, hey, man, you need to do this, you need to do that? Or what happens when a 16-year-old boy can tell him, listen, man, at 16 years old, you can be excited for God. We can do this, we can do that. Hey, man, we can turn this into a holy Jesus hip-hop night. We invite people in. We ain't got to have the shooting. We ain't got to have the cussing. We can just have a night just where we enjoy Jesus, some finger sandwiches, and we can just rock to the gospel rap music that's been put out there now and save a generation. And as that 16-year-old boy be able to groom him up. And I think what's happening, Walt, is a lot of times because churches don't pay attention to discipleship, and grooming and growing, because that 16-year-old boy can be your deacon. If he's discipled and understand, listen, man, what you're going through is a phase, but it's beautiful because you know who you are and you can spread that message and you can grow in that because none of us stayed Curtis Blow all our life. Curtis Blow don't even look like Curtis Blow. Run DMC now got on the preacher. Nobody stays in there. You've always. But the one thing we were able to do, we were able to be groomed and grown and understood. And one thing I'll say is this: Jay-Z ain't even the same. Jay-Z now multi-millionaire Jay-Z. Because he learned how to take the business to the next level. And we can do the same thing in the church. We can show these young people, hey, we're with you and take you to the next level as we go to the next level as well.
Wanted to ask you this, man. This is going on a lot of controversy with different religious sects and different religious groups. And I've had the privilege of being able to go to New York, California, Chicago, and Atlanta and deal with different groups of religious affiliates like Muslims, Hebrew Israelites, Nuwabians, Methodists, just all different kind of that some that don't even believe in Christ. When you come into contact with these people that come from these different backgrounds, and you know a lot of what I've realized with a lot of what we call Christians or people that call themselves Christians, they're quick to judge these people and shun these people off. How would you relate to these people? You know?
When I look in the history books. And I look at the life of Gandhi, one of the greatest philosophers, motivated Martin Luther King, and several others in the nonviolent movement. The thing that sticks out most about Gandhi that few people ever know is that Gandhi's mission when he went off to school and started learning was to be a Christian. Think about had Gandhi been a Christian, how even more influential he would have been in the world. The one thing that stopped Gandhi from being a Christian was Christian. He said, Jesus has the greatest teaching of anybody I've ever read. But when I look at the Christians, they're not imitating the pattern that he set. I start thinking about it this way. If I want a person to believe what I believe, I've got to be so inviting. It's got to be so beautiful to me that they're going to want to be a part. So I never debate theology. But the one thing that people can never take from you is your experience with Jesus. And when your experience with Jesus, that's your selling point.
That's your selling
Jesus did, and that's a lot of times what we don't give people. We want to battle them back with is Jesus black or white. We want to battle them back with is Hebrew, is the Jew. We want to open up the Bible and use it for a fight rather than the beautiness of the message. We never get to the love because we're too busy trying to prove a point. And the more we try to prove a point, the more we fall into what they want us to fall into. And we lose a lot of people that say, you know what, that's why I won't be a Christian. Because when you debate, you get mad. When you debate, you call me the devil, you call me Satan, you call me this, and I'm just a person that has questions. Well, more than anything, your lesson of your life will be very important for you. Jesus didn't debate the Pharisees and the Sadducees. He showed them the way.
Yes.
He showed them, listen, God has given me the ability to heal. God has given me the ability. Listen, I remember one portion of scripture that Jesus was on the mountain of transfiguration, and his disciples were arguing with the Pharisees and Sadducees about how to heal the boy. The boy was still sick, but they arguing about how to do it. And Jesus came down and he rebuked his disciples. He didn't rebuke the Pharisees. He said, I rebuke y'all because while y'all arguing, this boy's still sick. How much longer am I going to have to be here with you? Do you understand? It ain't about trying to prove that you're right and wrong. It's about proving the power of God. And many times we're trying to prove that we're right or wrong compared to theology and compared to all of this different thing rather than just showing, listen, I don't care if you're Muslim, I don't care if you're a black Hebrew, I'm still going to show you love.
Amen.
And at the end of the day, if you was homeless, I'm still going to take you in. Jesus said these words, and I like when he said this, when I was hungry, did you feed me? When I was naked, did you clothe me? When the Christians start saying it ain't about you being saved that I'm going to help you, but I'm just going to help you because of the love of God in me, because I can't even help you had not Jesus been good to me. When we start showing that, more people going to run to the church and not run from the church.
Yes, that's awesome, man. That is awesome. That's just a great way of living, man, that you have, you know, when you reach out there. Because I ran into a lot of guys. I remember being with a Muslim and with a Nuwabian one day, man, and we was having such a conversation, and it was the love that drew. The love that drew, and I shared my testimony when I was in prison, when God shared a revelation with me about being in a rainbow, and I received this number 9, and he gave me that number. It was so powerful in my life, and I didn't realize the number 9 was initially Christ himself. And so that's what it took for me, because I was at a place in my life where I had become an atheist, you know, and I told God when I came out, I didn't care what. If he didn't show me something, I was getting my guns, I was hitting the East Coast, and I was going to do my thing. You know what I'm saying? And when God took me into that, and some people call it out-of-body experience, but what happened was I ascended in spirit. I never left the body. I went to a different place in the spirit, and he showed me myself, and that was the most powerfulest experience that I've ever had, and that's what won me to Christ. That's what let me know Christ was real. That's what let me know that there was a difference between Christianity and knowing Christ. Mm-hmm. Christianity being the system of rules and regulations that somebody had created for us, instead of just walking in Christ, being led by his spirit. And so most definitely, man, you know, to be a part of the kingdom agenda, and to, you know, to have that open access, man, and where God moves in the way that he's moving. Because what I love about this, even this show, we not only have preachers and ministers, but we have hip-hop artists. We got politicians that's coming on. We got regular people, everyday working people coming on. We're going to have everybody from every aspect of the community coming on this show, because that's the kingdom agenda. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, just having you here, man, it's so great. And I want to let y'all know once again, get this book, man. Learn to Take Back Your Mind. Strategize, Unify, and Pray Your Way Up by KirK. Get this book, and I'm telling you, man, it's an awesome read. It'll help change your life. It'll help get you where you need to be, man, to get you on that road to success in Christ. And I'm telling you, man, if you get this book, you won't regret it. You won't regret it. CT, man, I got to ask you this too, man. I'm enjoying this segment, man, because you're dropping so much information, man. You got that God swag, cuz. You swagging for Jesus, man, for real.
You can look good and still be saying that's what I tell them.
Bringing it home.
That's what I got to do, man.
You bringing it home. Rock Hill's finest, man. It's our pastor, CT KirK, man. Solo Ministries in the house, Outreach Ministries. So tell me, what's the difference between the kingdom and church?
Amen. Well, the church is the body of Christ. It is bride's Christ. The kingdom, the church should always be kingdom mandated and kingdom planned. Kingdom is simply the authority of God. Okay. It is literally God giving us back the access that he gave Adam and Eve in a spiritual level, that we can commune with God, that we can understand who God is, that God could work through our lives. So kingdom is authority, the authority of God, that I don't have to settle for the situation that I'm going through, but that there's a higher calling upon my life. It is Jesus released papers. Jesus released papers through the blood of Jesus that cleanses us and allows sin no longer to bondage us. And the authority is simply this, that I don't have to operate like where I come from. I tell a lot of students in my class, I don't care what hood you came from, you don't have to stay that way.
No.
Because and that's what enlightenment is. That's what the power of thinking does for you. It opens up your mind. Because when your mind is opened up, it doesn't matter what situation you're around. I never forget in 2002, and a lot of people don't know this, but I had to go to jail on the weekend. And I was sitting there with some of the greatest philosophers and some of the greatest poets. I remember a guy who wrote a poem. Big shout out to Melvin. Melvin wrote a poem about how he saw the stars and how beautiful it was and all this. And I'm looking up. Dude, when last time you seen the stars? We ain't here before we get dark. You don't see no stars. He said, my mind is not here. My body is here, but my mind is not here. In kingdom agenda, Your mind is never where your body is. It's on a totally different thinking place because you're starting to think and you're starting to reason as God has given you power to think and reason. When people say the church, a lot of times they confuse it with the building. But the church should be a bunch of people who are kingdom-minded.
Yes.
Coming together to encourage. Church was just simply created for this, that when we come together on a Sunday, on a Saturday, we're coming to encourage each other. Hey, man, I know you've been going through this week, but I got you. If you need to call somebody, I got you. Let's come and learn together how we can take the strategies back out into our own personal ministries that we do all week long. And then we come back on Sunday or we come back on Saturday and we be able to rejoice together. Church was never set up to be a place that operates like the world. And this is why when you understand the significance of what kingdom is, a person can leave your quote-unquote church but still be in the kingdom. So just because you left my church don't mean we're disconnected.
Yes.
It means we still show each other love because maybe God had to send you somewhere else so that you can continue to work. But everything that's been poured into you from the church is still guiding your life. And I think that when people start understanding this, they'll stop saying, well, I don't go to church. Because church is simply the place that we come to be learned. It's just like school. School don't teach you everything that you need for the world, but it gives you a great focal point. It gives you a great mindset that when you leave out of school, you can further your education if you want, but you got enough common sense to know 2 + 2 is 4. I don't care how old you get. You can know that 2 + 2 is 4. And I think that a lot of times we confuse and we say that the two are different, but the two really should be the same. That everybody in the church should be kingdom-minded.
Yes. Yes, I totally agree. I totally agree, man. This is so powerful, man. There's so much information that's going out tonight. We hope you're enjoying the show. We hope you're enjoying the information. We hope you're enjoying everything that the pastor is bringing tonight. We are glad to have him on. We know that Rock Hill is in the house. We hope Lancaster, York, Chester. We hope the world is in the house. South Carolina, we want you in the house for this segment because there's a lot of information that you need, and this is a good session. Pastor, tell me something, man, on the personal level. What kind of music you listen to besides gospel?
Old school. I'm old school. I'm 50, 60, 70. I stop about 88. I stop around Gap Band era. My classroom, one of the most popular songs in my classroom is Ooh, I Like It by the DeBarge. All my kids sing that song, Ooh, I Like It. I love old school music because I like the purity of it. Mom and Dad didn't really allow me to get into the gangster area. I was able to stay with the Jerry curl, so I had the little curl. But I was able to, so I know all of the groups before. And even though I would go to my cousin's house and we would listen to the gangster rap stuff, but I really fell in love with music around the 60s and 70s.
So what are some of your hobbies, man? Some of your likes outside the ministry, stuff you like to do with family and things of that nature?
I love spending time with family. When we vacation, I love going to historical places. We've been to Montgomery, we've been to Memphis, we go to places with meaning, and I go there and study. Even though the kids don't always like to go to the museum, you can lock me in the museum, I'll stay in there about 4 or 5 hours. I love researching information and really understanding how things work. I aggravate my wife, I'm up late at night researching. She'll say, oh, there you go, researching something right in a minute. So I love research, I love learning, because I believe that the more you learn, the more you grow.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
And if I hear a young man talking something else, I want to go and research it. I want to go and understand what he's talking about. I also, I got a big card collection. I love collecting cards. Let them get old. I'm going to pass them down to my son, so that's another big thing. I play video games every once in a while with the son now. But yeah, I love researching.
I know that's right. Anybody in particular you want to give a shout out to tonight?
I'm giving a shout out to Solo Center, my wife Monique. Hey man, hey listen, we're gonna put this on my page and I'm gonna boost this thing so everybody can see it. So I want to give a shout out to LA. Hey Germany, Guten Tag. Hey, we love you right there.
Y'all give it up for my man, CT KirK, man. I'm your host, Emanuel Prophet Soul. This is That 5 FM Internet Radio. We're on each and every Sunday at 6 p.m. We'll have different people coming in and out, man. And if you want to be a part of this and come and join us, we got spots available. You just give me a call. There's a price that goes with that. Most definitely, but it's worth it because it helps your business out. Anything that you're doing where you need publicity, it help you out in so many other areas that reach far beyond the Carolinas. So if you want to use this platform and this venue to express what you have, to share what you have, network, whatever you need to do, that's what this venue was created for. That Fire is catering to all aspects of the community. I am your host, Emanuel Prophet Soul. And before we get ready to go off the air, I got a few more questions I want to ask the pastor. Pastor,
yes, sir.
What's your favorite fried food?
The one and only fried chicken, dog. Big shout outs to Shrimp Boat. Big shout outs to the Chicken Shack. They know me when I come in now. They say, hey, Ray, Love
You like that barnyard pimp, huh?
Yeah, it is. You know what? Wings now. Stay with the wings.
You don't do the legs and the thighs and the breast.
No. Give me 2 wings and a biscuit, and you can put me to sleep.
You still like the Pastor Bowles, when you leave, you go to somebody's house and they had that plate fixed for you.
They don't let you go to nobody's house no more. They don't mind invite preachers over to their house no more. Yeah, and then if you do go, you better go fix your plate. They say pastors in there.
You go to your kinds of cats' houses now, you might get shot.
You got to think now, this generation is the one that was sitting watching the preacher eat. So they don't like the preacher coming to the house no more. So they ain't invite nobody over no more. My mama and Big Mama grown now. These kids like, look, he ate the first piece of chicken. I don't even like the preacher.
Hey, for anybody, man, that want to stop by the ministry, man, come in and fellowship, man, or want to talk to you about anything, man, where you located at in Rock Hill, man?
We're located at 213 Albright Road. We do Wednesday night Bible studies and Sunday morning services. We are a church that does not believe in over-churching you, so you're not going to be there 5 or 6 days a week. And we believe in spending time with your family. We want you to learn it. We want you to learn the strategies about how to be going back to your family. We want you to be able to go to the cookout night, feel like you have to isolate yourself from your family, but you can love on your family and show you the way. So many of my family members now attend our church, my grandmother, my grandfather, uncles, and aunts, because we were just real saints that just really loved on them and really showed them the way. You can also connect with me through Facebook, CT KirK, the author, or CT KirK, my personal page. You probably won't get into my personal page, but you can go to CT KirK author page and like that and follow us along.
Yes, I hope everybody enjoyed the show tonight. It has been wonderful with the authentic, unadulterated truth teller of the gospel, my man, Pastor C.T. KirK. Man, I'm glad to have you tonight, man. Thank you for coming by to hang out with us, man, and give that information on the gospel, the kingdom, difference between church and religion, because our people really need to be informed, because today we have a young group of church people coming up. And they're not at that level of maturity yet, but they're getting there. I'm seeing some serious progress in the ministry, and it's beautiful, man. And it's even causing me to elevate myself in Christ. It's causing me to study more now. It's causing me to read more. It's causing me to just, shape a lot of things in my life that were kind of crooked for a minute, but now everything is getting back on track. I've been blessed with this radio show. We have a TV show coming out. We got a lot of things that's coming, man, and God is just blessing, man. And so sometimes God will have to allow you to lose some things in order to gain what he has for you. You know what I'm saying? And I realize that we go through different phases in this walk. There's different levels and different processes that you go through. When you leave one level, you go into another level. There's a whole nother level of learning. Because, what I studied in the scriptures 5 years ago, I'm seeing a different level of spirituality in the scriptures now. And so it's a beautiful thing. But you have been a great inspiration, family. And you keep doing what you're doing, man, and we behind you all the way 100%, man. The community's behind you. You know what I'm saying? The naysayers are becoming, instead of being the haters, they're becoming the congratulators. That's right. Some of the people that was talking junk about you now, they celebrate.
Right. We still cleaning up your road.
Yes, sir. You know what I'm saying?
We still picking up trash in your community.
You already know, right?
We ain't even throwing it on your porch like I wanted to.
Yes, sir. And so, man, I'm just so thankful, man, that God allowed you to come by. And we was able to have you, man. Thank you for coming by Dat Fire Film. And big shout out to Mike Brooks, CEO and owner of Dat Fire FM, man. He's doing a great job. My business partner, Bo Williamson. I'm going to give a shout out to my wife, Naomi, my children, Eliza, Isaiah, Shakira, Zakira, Manira, Ambria, Joshua. I got an army.
Yeah, I see that.
And to their mothers, Kaniba Heath and Marva Roseboro, some awesome women. Just want to thank everybody, and Kimberly Moore, want to give a big shout out to her, everything that she's doing in ministry.
She won an award last night.
Oh, awesome. Kimberly Moore just won an award.
Yeah, she won the award.
Well, awesome, man. And so it's just beautiful, man, what everybody is doing, man. I'll give a shout out to Freedom Temple Ministries, Gethsemane, Pastor Wilson, Pastor Crump, all the ministries around the city, Rayleigh, and everybody around the city that's doing things, and even the pastors in Lancaster, Great Falls, this whole region. God has got a move going on so powerful that's outside, and not as well as in the building, but outside of the building. And people are coming together, beginning to love one another. Those that used to didn't like one another, beginning to come together and love one another. People are letting go past. I'm seeing this with my own eyes. So it's such a beautiful thing, and people are becoming less judgmental, because people are beginning, what the Spirit of God is showing people now that I'm saying, Pastor, he's showing people themselves in the mirror before they can even judge people now. You know what I'm saying? Because I know I don't do everything right. But one thing about, I strive every day to be the best man of God that I can be. You know what I'm saying? And where I'm at may not be where somebody else is. And that's why the love of God is so powerful. And I've watched you share that over the years in your ministry, and I'm grateful and I'm thankful. And you keep doing what you're doing. I love you, man.
You too.
God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show for tonight, this evening, all the way live with your host, Emanuel Prophet Soul, my man, the awesome pastor, CT KirK, Solo Outreach Ministers. Y'all give it up, and we'll see y'all next weekend. The same time, between 6 and 6:30, we'll be here. Be here with us, and we will be all the way live.